In our previous video, we noted that the left's modus operandi is to accuse you and me of doing and saying what they themselves are doing and saying. It's simple projection. But we on the right engage in projection too. We tend to assume that leftists are acting in good faith when they engage in politics. They're not, and we need to stop assuming that they are. Leftists have one goal: power. They'll do anything to obtain and then to retain power. That's their prime directive. It's their main goal. We on the right need to stop assuming the left is operating in good faith, and we need to push back at them hard now. This is Dr. Avenir. Why is anyone surprised? Serious question. Why would anyone expect the American left to be shocked at Hamas's slaughter of babies? The left have been justifying baby slaughter for decades here in America. At some point, you get into your head and heart the notion that there's not really any difference between cutting the head off a baby in his crib and doing the same thing in the womb. You can't avoid that. Any difference is purely arbitrary, whether you do it at 2 weeks of pregnancy or 6, or just before birth, or even immediately after birth, or let's say 5 years after birth. Where you place the line is entirely arbitrary once you cross that bright moral line and admit to the possibility of simply killing it. In Iceland, I remind you, they've, quote, cured, end quote, Down syndrome, merely by killing all babies with Down syndrome before they're born. Iceland trumpeted this ghoulish thing as a great advancement in medicine. Europe has a long-established and growing movement to permit, quote, abortion, end quote, well after the baby is born. And in Europe, you can go pay someone to legally kill you. In the Netherlands, in Switzerland, and in Oregon. Seriously, why then should we be surprised when such ghouls as Hassan Piker have no problem justifying sawing the heads off babies in their cribs in Israel? All the cool kids have been cool with killing babies for generations. Some consider it a right, far more sacred than free speech or freedom of worship, or the right peaceably to assemble. Again, my apologies for the graphic, horrific language, but what was done in Israel was horrific. An animal, fully in the clutches of rabies fever, has not the motivation that Hamas goons had when they saw helpless babies in front of them. In other words, a Hamas goon is a being inferior to a rabid animal by his own choice. Our American leftists are close on their heels in the same race to madness. They've already crossed quite a few uncrossable lines in that horrid, headlong rush to psychosis.